Welcome back, guys, or if you're new to my channel, this is Automotive Anonymous. That's the 2025 Toyota Corolla, but more specifically, it's an XSE, so it's a pretty high trim level of the sedan offered for 2025, and it's in a color that Toyota likes to call Wind Chill Pearl, which in person, there's a whole lot of metallic flake in the paint, and it actually looks really good. This one is slightly used. It has some window tint that just accents it that much better, and today I get to share the good, the bad, and the ugly of the current 12th generation of the Toyota Corolla to help you guys at home decide if this might be the right compact sedan for you. So today you can expect to see a walk around, all the specs, initial driving impressions, 0 to 60 on GPS, and then my final thoughts. And huge thanks to Twin Falls Subaru for letting me borrow this one for the day. I'll link it below if you're interested. They sell below MSRP and they ship all over the country. And with that said, let's dive right into this review. And if you like Toyota, the current generation Corolla, or my video, please consider liking my video. That small act of kindness really goes a long way in helping me know you want to watch more stuff like this while helping this video get shared, and it helps you by having YouTube choose to show you more stuff like this. Thank you guys so much. But if you're new to the Toyota Corolla, there's a few things that you need to know, specifically that Toyota is currently the biggest automaker in the world. They sell globally, all over the world, and Corolla actually means in Japanese small crown, which I find interesting because now in the United States market where I'm currently at, there's actually a Toyota sedan that's called the Crown. But this, the VIN number, it starts with a J, meaning that this Corolla was assembled in Japan and then shipped overseas, where the United States gets about 200 to 400,000 units of this every single year. So it's a pretty popular option. In fact, for 2023, I believe the Corolla is one of the top 3 selling vehicles in the whole wide world. The other ones are the Tesla Model Y and the Toyota RAV4. So the Corolla is one of the best-selling vehicles of all time, and you really need to know that the first generation came out back in 1966, and Corolla, that nameplate really does have a lot of heritage, because back in the day, the Corolla was actually a rear-wheel drive vehicle. They're pretty popular. The old rear-wheel drive ones are very expensive, very valuable now. And then at some point, it went from being a subcompact vehicle to a compact sedan in 1991. So it's slightly bigger than the original ones, and they're basically all front-wheel drive at this point. Although there is the GR Corolla, and for 2025, there's not a lot of upgrades, there's not a lot of changes for this current generation, other than getting the FX trim level, which is just its own level of fancy bits, but not really anything structurally that's changed for this current year. I think one of the best parts about the Corolla is it is currently a top safety pick, despite its smaller size, and it has a lot of standard safety features across the whole lineup. So whether you get the cheapest SE model that starts about $22,000 before destination delivery, or you get one like this, the XSE, that's about $27,000 before those extra add-ons, you're going to get a lot of standard safety features with Toyota Safety Sense 3.0, so blind spot, adaptive cruise, lane keep assist, and a few other ones that I'll overlay on the screen, meaning that despite being a small vehicle, it actually holds up really well in accidents, but also has a lot of modern technology that's pretty well established to help you avoid accidents, and I really appreciate that. So while I think it's unfortunate that you can't buy a brand new Toyota Corolla for $15,000 anymore, if you are going to fork out $27,000 for a mildly loaded one, what do you actually get? Well, you get 18-inch wheels, you get painted side mirrors, you get a sort of small sedan-sized sunroof. It's not a panoramic, but it does let a little bit of extra natural light in. You also have leather heated seats, which are fairly comfortable. You have a JBL sound system, which I actually am pretty impressed with for this price point. You also have an upgraded infotainment system, a wireless charger, and wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, basically making this a much nicer vehicle than the base model SE for about $5,000 of extra, but it all goes into that technology and the creature comforts. And because this is still a compact car, it fits so well in parking spaces, and it's super easy and convenient to drive around town. Overall, it's about 15 feet long, just under 6 feet wide, just under 5 feet tall. The wheelbase is 8.8 feet, so it actually is very planted on the road. It weighs around 3,000 pounds and has a pretty impressive 860-pound payload capacity, which, funny enough, is more than most Toyota 4Runners, so you can actually carry 860 pounds worth of people and stuff in your little Corolla. And then it has about 5.3 inches of ground clearance. It is front-wheel drive, so not a ton of ground clearance, but it's okay for this type of vehicle. It has a 379 final drive ratio, which kind of assists with how well this thing puts the power down, as you'll see soon enough in our driving impressions. and then it can do a full circle in about 35 feet, which is very convenient around town. The last few things to mention here is the gas door is thankfully located on the driver's side, and it locks. There's a little switch in the footwell of the driver's side area to unlock it so that the bumps can't siphon any of your 13.2 gallons of dinosaur juice. And then this one specifically is rated for about 31 in the city, about 40 on the highway, so your max road trip and range is up to about 528 miles, which is pretty impressive. The wheels and the tires, it's an 18-inch wheel. It's a 225 40 18, so you do have kind of a rubber band tire, but honestly, it just adds to the sporty feeling. I'm actually very surprised at how well and sharp this thing handles on the road. And then you can actually leave your proximity key in your pocket, but if you do want to use it, you have lock, unlock, hatch release, panic button, and proximity key features to lock and unlock the vehicle. And they're kind of slow to respond. There we go. The driver's side door panel is very interesting. It's a lot of soft but durable, hard-ish materials, but it's comfortable. It's going to age really well. You have kind of like a synthetic or maybe a true leather on the armrest. You have some gloss black, which I don't like. Look at how dirty that looks, even being washed out probably recently with a rag. And then you have your controls. You have a small bottle and snack pocket speaker. I don't like all the black of this interior. That's basically all it is, and that's why I mentioned earlier that the sunroof just doesn't let that much light in compared to the darkness of the interior. But overall, being the XSE, you have all-weather mats, you have rubberized pedals and dead pedal, hood release, a few options here that are related to lighting, ventilation, lighting stock, and then this is your power heated leather seat, and actually looks pretty good and it's very comfortable, especially with all of this bolstering. Sitting inside here again, it's very dark, but it's very comfortable, very well ergonomically designed, and I still have really good visibility. The steering wheel has a physical but a lever to tilt and telescope. I like that quite a lot. It is leather wrapped but not heated. The horn, oh my gosh, that is very high pitched. You guys maybe didn't hear that too much with the sound cancellation on my microphone, but you have voice and volume on the left, adaptive cruise on the right. The adaptive cruise on this actually works really good. Push button start to fire it up. I don't know if Toyota has an app, but they probably do, to where you can buy a remote start and some lock and unlock features like this. I'd imagine they have that similar to Subaru. And then you have Safety Sense 3.0. There's honestly not a ton of stuff to go through on the display in the center, or on this. We just have to go through all the silly, initial setup. Basically, use Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, otherwise you're not going to get a lot of information through this. I love that you have physical dials. It's kind of confusing. This is not dual climate control. This is the fan speed. That's the temperature, and then a few other settings right there. Otherwise, you have a wireless charger here, heated seats for you and the passenger. You can turn off the wireless charger. Basically, the spot to pop this cover off, it is kind of piano black. It's already kind of scratched up, so I don't necessarily love that. You have your drive modes. You have sport, normal, and eco. You have traction control. You can go into reverse. Trajectory lines do not move. It's kind of old school, not great clarity, a little bit grainy, but the camera is full screen, so it actually shows you quite a bit. And then you have auto vehicle hold, electronic parking brake, some cup holders with the handle spot, and then you have a few plugins on this very tiny little center armrest. Up top, you don't really have anything right there. You have a few lights. You have the controls for the power moonroof. And this does not slide on itself, but it does have the extension piece. And you have an LED light there, which is actually pretty nice. So with that said, let's turn it off and we'll hop in the back. I actually really like this windshield pearl paint. It is seriously so reflective, so metallic in person. And being the XSE, you have the little spoiler, you have the side skirt. It just has some nice interior and exterior accents to go along with this package for that $5,000. But when you hop in the back, the door panel, it's designed by the same interior design engineers. Hard, soft, very basic, very dark, doesn't let a lot of light reflect on the interior. And then this is your leather 60/40 split seat. You know what's weird? This is actually the strangest sedan I've ever had, where you actually have to reach over here to drop the seat. The little button is right there. Super inconvenient. It lays kind of flat as the seat itself, and then there's a big drop right there. But at 5'11", sitting behind myself in here in its one seat position, because the seats don't recline, I actually have okay room. I don't have a map pocket, so I can't be a backseat driver. I do have some plugins, and I have a fold-down armrest with some cup holders, and it's actually really sturdy, really comfortable. I don't have much headroom, even though there are these little cutouts in the ceiling. If you can see the light reflect differently right there, it helps a little bit, but don't plan on leaning forward because you're going to be scraping your head against the ceiling. So it is tight. Again, it's a compact sedan, With that said, let's hop out and I'll show you the hatch. Whether you're considering the sedan or the hatchback, I honestly think both rear ends look pretty good, pretty well designed for this class of vehicle, but there's a few different ways to access your trunk. You can either push the button that's underneath the Toyota emblem, you can push the button that's in the driver's side by the footwell, you can climb through the back seats, or just do the laziest of all, use the remote. It says to hold the button, and those shocks being brand new, they actually work pretty well to lift it up. Back here, you have 13.1 cubic feet of cargo capacity, which for a 15-foot long little sedan is actually pretty good. There's not really any tie downs, there's not a ton of insulation, there's not really a lot going on. There's basically just an incandescent light and the strap you pull to escape if you've been kidnapped back here. And then there should be a temporary spare tire in here. Not a full size, but it's under there with all the tools. Seriously, look at how little that thing is underneath the tool foam section. Anyways, it's easy to reach up to, it's easy to lower it back down. And if you're the lucky duck that gets to ride in the shotgun seat, you'll notice that the door panel basically looks exactly the same, which you'd expect at this point. Also, there's a lot of glare and reflection off of these windows. And the front windshield, kind of interesting. Maybe it's related to the tint or the sunlight we have today, but I find that interesting. There's nothing but plastic on the door sill. No power options for the seat, but it is still heated leather. It has the bar to slide, and it has the handle back here to recline. Otherwise, all weather mat. No transmission, tunnel storage, or above the glove box. It's also not locking, which is disappointing, but it's pretty big, so I guess that maybe makes up for it. And with that said, let's come around to the front. I will pop the hood and I'll show you what the 2-liter 4-cylinder little Corolla engine looks like. Under the hood is a little but reliable 2-liter 169 horsepower at 6,600 RPM and about 151 pound-feet of torque at about 4,400 RPM little motor. So basically each of the cylinders is a half-liter or roughly 16 ounces of air volume in them. It is connected to a CVT, but driving this, it actually feels very solid and it shifts really well, or it holds the RPM like it should to have peak power output, depending on what it needs. But it's actually pretty straightforward, pretty basic under the hood. I love that there's no nonsense engine covers. You can actually identify everything on this engine. It is front wheel drive, so it is transversely mounted. So the alternator and the serpentine belt is right there on the passenger side. But otherwise, your reservoirs for windshield washer, coolant, brake fluid, battery, fuse boxes, air filter, everything, another fuse box right there. Everything is basically super straightforward, really easy to work on. You have the induction side right here, the exhaust side on the back with the heat shield by the firewall. And honestly, this just looks so easy to work on and service, but it's a Toyota 2-liter 4-cylinder. You probably aren't gonna have to do a whole lot with it. So with that said, let's drop the hood and take it for a drive. Initial driving impressions of the Corolla sedan. First of all, check out all the glare that's on the windows. Kind of interesting, at least with where the sun is today. More than I would like, but let's get this thing up to speed. It's currently in sport mode, traction is off. Let's go full throttle. For a little 1.6 liter, it actually sounds pretty good. And in the first simulated gear from the CVT, it actually pulls decently well, better than I was expecting for under 170 horsepower. Although this vehicle does weigh only 3,000 pounds, and that's not very heavy. It's still a compact car, and the steering is actually really direct, very numb. You don't feel anything through it because of all the electronics to control it to make it sharp, but it actually feels really good and engages quite well. Having Toyota Safety Sense 3.0 gives you a lot of safety features. So even though you are little on the road, even though this is a top safety pick and it does hold up well in crashes, you have a lot of safety features to help avoid those accidents. And the JBL speakers actually sound surprisingly good. So whether it's the actual speaker quality, the amperage to the speakers, maybe it's the glass, the way the acoustics are in here, I'm actually really digging this. But what I don't like is all the black interior. It's kind of depressing in here. There's not a ton of natural light that gets in once you tint the windows, once you add a tint strip. Corners like a lightweight sedan, which is a good thing. Too many vehicles don't corner very well. They have a lot of body roll, they're too big, they're bloated, they're heavy. But driving a 3,000 pound sedan, this actually feels like it handles really well. Definitely not as good as a GR86, but it actually handles a lot better than I was expecting. The seats don't have crazy bolstering, but they have more than some other vehicles, so you can actually kind of match your position in the seat to the corners that you can take at a little bit higher speed. You're not sliding around quite as much. But I've had the heated seats on now for over 20 minutes, and they're finally feeling like my back's getting kind of warm. At no point have these felt hot. The leather-wrapped wheel, it feels decent. Let's listen to this bump. that was pretty loud. The other day I was driving a brand new Honda Pilot, and I know that's a 3-row SUV, completely different vehicle, but there's way more road and wind noise in this little Corolla than there was in that more substantial Honda SUV. Just for comparison, the brakes work really good, very linear. Let's do another little acceleration, see if we can spin the tires. Oop. Oh yeah, most of that though is because of rocks and gravel. Anyways guys, I actually am digging this pretty well. I'm gonna have a full driving review or a longer extended driving review of my thoughts and opinions and show you some more adaptive features and stuff like that. So if you want to watch that, you're welcome to. Otherwise, let's get to the private road and do a 0 to 60. 0 to 60 in the Corolla. Keep in mind, density altitude is just over 5,000 feet, so this vehicle is down on power, 15 to 18%. It's in sport mode, traction is off. I'm gonna do a little bit of a brake rev. Let's see what it can do. Had a fake shift and then it held RPM. True 0 to 60 came in at 9.3 seconds. That actually felt pretty fast in its first simulated gear. My final thoughts of the 12th generation Toyota Corolla sedan with the 2-liter and the CVT combo. It actually is really good. I'm not surprised why almost 1 million of these sell globally some years, and why the United States, where I'm at, gets 200 to 400,000 units of these. I'm surprised they don't actually sell better. I've driven these in the past quite a bit, and I actually really like the Corolla platform. I like that this generation did not change the exterior styling a whole lot compared to the last one. And I am really impressed that Toyota did make a hatchback, that they actually decided to offer 2 different versions of the same powertrain, because you get more cargo capacity with the hatch. In some cases, the hatchback can even be 6 to 7 inches shorter distance than this while having more cargo capacity. But honestly, the Toyota Corolla, for being kind of that compact, silly little, maybe less than masculine vehicle, it actually looks pretty good the way that this one is styled. LED headlights, super bright, top safety pick. 40 miles per gallon on the highway if you're lucky and you don't have a headwind. Honestly, there are a lot of reasons to love this, and I personally think I like this 2-liter naturally aspirated motor better than the Honda Civic at this point, better than a lot of the competition. I think the Corolla is a really good vehicle. I think they're going to hold their value fairly well for the value that you get out of this, and still to even have a very loaded one in the $20-some thousand ballpark, that's not too bad. But don't just take my word for it. I'm just a random person that you heard from on the internet today. Go out and drive one for yourself. Test drive the competition, at least 4, 5, 6 other vehicles, to make sure that you guys are actually going to buy the right vehicle for you, so that down the road future you doesn't regret the decision that current you made. But this XSE, I don't really have any reservations to not recommend one. And if you guys got anything out of this video, please consider liking this video. Comment your thoughts and opinions below. Subscribe if you haven't already. Remember, I'll link this dealership below. They are fantastic, one of the best in the nation to work with. And with that said, take care, guys. See you next time.